Welcome to the channel, guys. It's early 10:30 in the morning and we are going to discuss JEE Main 2nd September 2020 first shift physics attempt. So all the question here are memory based question which are being given by the student who have taken the examination on the computer. Okay, now let us start with the question itself. Now before going into the video, please like, share and subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon. My name is Anmol Kumar. I am MTech in Aerospace Engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Now let us start with our lecture. So in the first question over here, you are given with the two magnets P and T, where P is a permanent magnet and T is a magnet which are being used in the transformer. He is asking you that among which of the following four options, which one is correct. So this question is based upon the concept of soft and hard magnetic material. Soft magnetic material are those which are having low retensivity and a low correctivity, whereas hard magnetic material are those which are having high retensivity and a high correctivity. First option is saying that it is having high retensivity and low correctivity, which is an incorrect option. Second option saying P is having low retensivity and high correctivity, which is also an incorrect option. T, which is our used in transformer and our soft magnetic material, is having a low correctivity and low retensivity, and according to our data this is the correct option. And fourth is saying that T has a high correctivity and a high retensivity, which is an incorrect option because T is a material which is being used in transformer and transformer only employs soft magnetic material which have low retensivity and a low correctivity. Let us quickly move. So I can say that this is an incorrect option. So let us quickly move toward the second question. So in the following question, you are given with the hypothetical density of a density k by r and a planet is rotating at r naught distance from the center of this galaxy. Now you have to find the relation in between t and r. Okay, so what you can do is, you know that at the planet itself the gravitational force will be acting as a centripetal force, okay, and a pseudo force, a centrifugal force, will be acting at the planet balancing this gravitational attracting force. So I can write the following equation over here. Now because my gravitational force requires the mass of both of the body, among which I have given with the mass of the planet but not the mass of the galaxy itself, what I can do is I can figure out the mass of the galaxy by the following relation, because I have been given with the density relation here itself. So I know that density is nothing but dm by dv, small mass upon small volume. So I can write it as follow. Then dv is nothing but 4 pi r square dr. I have just derivated the volume with respect to r and land upon this expression over here, after which I have to solve for dm. Okay, so my galaxy is ranging from 0 to r wheresoever my planet m is lying. Okay, so just integrate the following expression and get the answer. Put the answer in the parent equation over here, which is equation number 1, and you will be getting the value of omega. Okay, afterwards you will be knowing that omega is nothing but 2 pi upon t, for which you can relate both of the expressions over here. After which you can just substitute the value of omega over here in the following expression, and you can have the expression of time in relation with your radius. So option 3 is correct. Moving forward to the next question is, a block of mass 3m is suspended by a meter scale rod of mass m shown in figure. If the tension in string A is equal to kmg in equilibrium, then you have to find the value of this k. Okay, so first you have to draw the free body diagram of the following diagram, which I have done over here. Okay, afterwards you will be knowing that if you are having equilibrium, then tau at a point B should be equal to 0. Okay, we know the conditions of equilibrium, fx equal to 0, fy equal to 0, and net tau at any point equal to 0. Okay, so after which you can find the tau at point B due to the falling forces mg, the hanging weight 3 mg, the tension Ta. Okay, at point B, as you can see over here, tension B will bypass the moment because there is no distance. It can have tau equal to r into f. It is having 0 distance with respect to B, so tension B will be contributing 0 tau to our point B. Okay, put the expressions over here in the following equation which you have made from the following logic and substitute all the values. Now he have given you the value of TA to be equal to K into mg. K into mg. Okay, just compare both of the following expressions and you can find out the value of K over here. Quickly moving toward the next question. Now in the following question you are being asked for the maximum value of voltage developed for the following coil of radius r which is rotating about the diametrical axis with an angular velocity omega. You are equipped with all of the data over here, the radius, the b, and for half rotation the time taken by the coil. Now what you can do is you can simply put the flux formula and you know that minus d phi by dt is nothing but the induced EMF from the induced magnetic induction chapter. Okay, just derivate the following expression over here and you'll be landing up with this expression. Now to maximize the EMF you'll be have to maximize the expression over here, and you know that the expression can be maximized if and only if sine omega t is having a value of +1. Okay, just replace sine omega t by +1 and you'll be having the maximum EMF. Put all the data in the following expression and you'll be landing up with the following calculation. Quickly moving toward the next question. The next question says that you are having a cylinder which is rotating with a constant angular velocity omega. The radius of the cylinder is r. The height is h as shown. Now you have to find this height h. Okay, it is rotating and you have to find this height h. You are given with the radius of the cylinder as 5 centimeter over here. Okay, so now what I can do is I know from my fluids chapter itself that pressure, if I am varying my pressure with respect to radius, then it is varying with the following relation. Now as you can see in the second diagram itself, I am taking my variation from A to B. Okay, I am taking my variation from A to B, my radial variation of pressure. Okay, and I am going from 0 to R, going from 0 to 5 centimeter. Okay, from the center to the edge of my cylinder over here I am integrating. I will be landing up with the following expression over here. Now the matter of fact is pressure at A will be equal to pressure at C, which is nothing but the atmospheric pressure. Pressure of A will be equal to pressure of C, which is nothing but the atmospheric pressure. But I know that there is a height difference in between C and B, so I can write it as PB minus PC equal to rho GH, which means that pressure at B is nothing but the atmospheric pressure plus the pressure head due to the water column over here, okay, of height h. Okay, so using these two equations, substituting and mathematically finding the expression, I can say that my height is coming out to be omega square r square by 2g. So it was a simple, very much simple question you can expect from the fluid chapter itself. Now in the following question, if force, velocity, area is considered as a fundamental physical quantity, then you have to find the dimensional formula of Young's modulus of elasticity. Now he have given you that force, velocity and area is considered as the fundamental physical quantities. Okay, that's your clue. So as you know Young's modulus, Young's modulus is nothing but it is stress upon strain, and as you can see over here, stress is nothing but force upon area and strain is nothing but the change in length upon total length L. So this is dimensionless quantity, this is dimensionless. You are left with F upon A, you are left only with F upon A. Now you have to compare the following. Now let us consider that my Young's modulus is having a dimension of FA, V to the power B, A to the power C as per the question. Putting all the following values over here in the following expression, I am left with F is nothing but MLT minus 2, it is raised to the power A. V is nothing but LT minus 1, it is raised to the power B. Area is nothing but L square, it is raised to the power C. And from this expression over here, I know that it is force upon area, then it is MLT minus 2 upon area L square. Comparing both of the following, I can have the values of A, B and C. Now I have to express the Young's modulus in the following form: force, velocity and area as per the question. So just find out the value of A, B and C and put it over here. Put it over here and you will be landing up with the following expression. Okay. F1 V0 A minus 1. So first option is the correct option. Let us quickly move to the next question, which is saying that you have to arrange the correct order of resistivity over here. First one is your aluminum, then your mercury, copper and tungsten. So it's a data you can find out, you can find it on Google very easily. So it's a database question, you have to remember, you have to cram all these values. Okay, so mercury is having 98, aluminum is having 2.65, copper is having 1.72 and tungsten is having 5.65. okay, so mercury is having higher, then afterwards your tungsten, then afterwards your aluminum and copper. You can arrange, okay, by yourself. It's a pretty much simple question, memory based question. Moving toward the next question is, a train A and a train B are moving with the velocities 36 km per hour and 72 km per hour respectively. Now it's a relative question over here, the question from the kinematics relative concept over here, pretty much simple. Both are moving in the opposite direction and a man is in the train A and it is moving with a speed of 1.8 km per hour opposite to the direction of train. Okay, find the velocity of man as seen from your train B. Now you are in the train B and you are seeing or watching the man, then you have to predict the velocity of the man if you are sitting in the train B. Okay, so now first you have to convert all these kilometer per hour into meter per second. So VA is nothing but 10, VB is nothing but minus 20 and V of man, velocity of man inside train A, or velocity of man with respect to train A is nothing but 0.5. Now you'll be wondering why I've taken a minus over here and a plus over here, because the sign convention which I'm following is that if I'm moving in the positive x direction, I'm taking it as positive, and if I'm moving in negative x direction, then I'm taking velocities as negative. Now you have to find the velocity of man with respect to B. Okay, you are sitting in B. Okay, velocity of man with respect to B is nothing but velocity of man minus velocity of B. Just add VA and subtract VA. So you'll be landing up with the following expression over here. Now logically it is nothing but velocity of man with respect to A, and it is nothing but velocity of A with respect to B. You are given with all of the data over here. Okay, just put all the data in the following expression and you will be landing up with the following calculation over here. Okay, so pretty much simple question of the relative. Now you have to discuss the property of the image formed by the mirror of a real object when placed beyond the curvature. So it's a neat kind of question, very simple and a very easy question. Now you are putting your object beyond your center of curvature. This is the following image you will be getting, and I know that the following image will be nothing but real and diminished. Also it will be inverted. Okay, if you have studied the geometrical optics well, then you can just click the third option over here. Moving forward to the next question, it is a very direct question. They have given 3 moles of O2 mixed with 5 moles of argon at a temperature T. Find out the internal energy of the system. So in this question he is asking you that you have to find the total internal energy of the system. Now as per the formula itself, if you have studied the thermodynamics well, you know that the internal energy of the system is nothing but the degree of freedom divided by 2 into number of moles into R into T, okay, of the following gas. Now you are given with oxygen and argon. I know that degree of freedom for the oxygen is nothing but 5 and for the argon it is 3. Number of moles are given to me as 3 and 5 for both of the respective gases. Put in the following formula. Now there are 2 gases, so you have to add both of them. You have to contribute both of their contribution in the equation. Okay, so I have done it over here. Just simply put the following formula and you will be landing up with the expression over here. So it is nothing but the total internal energy is coming out to be 15 RT. Now let us start with the following question over here. So in the following question, as you can see, you are given with the body which is moving in the x direction with a certain velocity is trying to collide with the following body 3m which is at rest. After the collision you are getting your mass m with a velocity in y direction only. but not in x direction, and 3 mass m in a certain direction which is unknown to us. Now you have to find the value of this v. So what you can do is you can apply the momentum equation. Okay, so what I've done is I've applied the momentum conservation equation in the vector form to take care both of the xy axis over here. So my initial, it is moving in the x direction only, so mu I cap plus 0 contribution in the y direction, and it is having a rest motion over here. 3m is having a rest motion, so 0 for 3m. After the collision, if I have to take care of my first body here, I can say that it is having a 0 momentum in the x direction, but mv j cap, mv into mv in the direction of y over here, mv in the direction of y over here. Okay, and because I am unknown with the velocity of 3m, I can assume it as v vector dash. Okay, I will assume it to be a v vector dash. So write the following equation over here, find your v vector dash. Now you have to find the velocity v. So because the collision is elastic collision, I know that my kinetic energy loss will be 0. So I can say that my initial kinetic energy will be equal to the final kinetic energy. So just you have to write the expression for the kinetic energies over here. So for the first case, it is nothing but 1 by 2 mu square. Okay, my total velocity for my first body is nothing but u square plus 0 square, a contribution of 0 in the y direction. Okay, and in the second case it is v. Okay, the total velocity after the collision for my first body is nothing but a contribution 0 in the x direction and v in the y direction. And in the similar manner you have to write the total velocity for the 3m body to be a component of this square, u by 3 resultant velocity, and v by 3 whole square. So the resultant velocity you have to incorporate over here. Okay, now after which you have to find the value of v in the form of u. So it is coming out to be u by root 2. Moving toward the next question over here, a block of mass m is start to slipping from the top inclined plane b and come to rest when it reaches the lowest point a of the inclined plane. If bc is equal to, if bc, this bc is equal to 2 times of ac, and friction coefficient of the part AC is kept as mu, which is equal to k tan theta, then you have to find the value of k. Okay, now first consider the following lengths over here. Account for the following lengths. AC is L, BC is 2L, AB is 3L. Then apply the work energy theorem, which says that total change in the kinetic energy is nothing but the sum of the all kind of work going over here. So there is only friction work and work due to gravity going over here. Okay, so work due to friction is nothing but mg 3l sin theta. Okay, sorry, work due to gravity is nothing but mg 3l sin theta, and you are getting a negative work from the friction because it is opposite to the direction of your displacement. I can say that it is nothing but mu mg cos theta into L. And I can say that the change in kinetic energy is nothing but to be 0. Why 0? Because you are starting from the rest and you are landing at the rest. So if you are starting from the rest, then m 1 by 2 m0 square, and you are landing at rest, so m 0 square. Okay, so initial kinetic energy is also 0 and final kinetic energy is also being 0. Okay, now with enough said, you can equate the following expression and you will be landing up with the following expression over here. Mu is equal to 3 tan theta. Now mu is given to you as mu equal to k tan theta. Please compare both of the following and you will be landing up with k equal to 3. Moving forward to the next question, find the minimum value of f applied to a line, applied to a perpendicular line OP, where O is the center of the ball and mass m and radius r required to lift the ball. Okay, so now what you can do over here is, now you have to find the minimum value of this f. Now you have to also take care of the following case, that you have to lift this ball. Now to lift this ball, the moment generated by this f into r about this point p should be greater than the moment generated by due to this gravitational force into the distance over here about this point P. Okay, you have to take care of that also. So F into R should be greater than that of mg cos theta R. Now this distance is nothing but mg cos theta R. Okay, so I've taken this angle as theta. This is R, this is R cos theta. So mg into R cos theta should be less than that of F into R. The moment generated by F into R, the moment generated by F should be greater than that of mg over here. So I've taken the logic. Then just using the mathematical calculations for the cos theta, which says my cos theta is nothing but, using all the dimensions over here, theta, this is my A, this is my A over here, as you can see this is my A over here. So I'm landing up with this, let us say P, or let us say S U to be R minus A. This is my R, SP is my R. So I'm having the following triangle S P and U to be R minus A. Now you have to find the value of cos theta. So just you have to find the value of this length PU is nothing but PU upon PS. Okay, so PU is nothing but R square minus R minus A whole square by using Pythagoras theorem. Just put it over here in the place of cos theta. Substitute the value of cos theta over here, and you will be landing up with the following expression. So if you are having F which is greater than this expression over here, you will be having your required condition. Okay, so it is nothing but option 2. Now in this question, your stopping potential of emitted photoelectron is V. The monochromatic light is of wavelength lambda incident on your metal surface. Okay, now a wavelength of light 3 lambda of wavelength 3 lambda is incident on the same metal surface. The stopping potential is coming out to be V by 4. Then you have to find the threshold wavelength of the metal. Okay, and also the value of K over here. So from the equation of photoelectric effect, I can say that Hc by lambda is nothing but equal to the wave function and the E into V, where V is my stopping potential. Okay, this equation is known to me. So in my first case, everything was simple. Lambda is nothing but equal to lambda, V is nothing but equal to V. In the second case, lambda is coming out to be 3 lambda and V is coming out to be V by 4. Comparing both of them and getting rid of the phi over here, I can say that Hc by lambda 1 minus 1 by 3 is equal to 3 by 4 EV. Okay, so I'll be landing up with the following expression in between EV and Hc by lambda over here. Now I can just replace the following expression in my first equation over here. I'll be landing up with the following expression. Now just you have to find the value of phi, and also you know that this phi is having the value of h nu naught or h c by lambda naught, which is this is your threshold wavelength. Okay, compare both of them and you will be landing up with the following expression. Phi is equal to hc by 9 lambda. Now as you know that this expression is nothing but your this expression, where this is your threshold wavelength, and it is being given that is your threshold wavelength is nothing but it is your k lambda. Compare 9 lambda to your threshold wavelength. Okay, then you will be landing up with the value of k to be equal to the 9. Now let us move to the next question. Fundamental frequency of two identical strings x and y are given to be something like this. Then you have to find the ratio of the tension inside the string. Okay, so very pretty straight question given over here. Now I know the expression of frequency for my strings, which is nothing but 1 by 2L T upon mu, where T is the tension, mu is the mass per unit length. With the following expression, what I can do is I can take the ratio of the following expressions. Okay, after which I'll be landing up with the following expression over here. Okay, squaring both sides, I will be landing up with the ratio of Tx over Ty, which is nothing but coming out to be 9 by 4. Moving forward to the next question, you are being given with the capacitor with capacity 5 microfarad. You have charged it to 220 volt. Now you have disconnected it from the battery. Now this charged 5 microfarad capacitor is connected to another capacitor of 2.5 microfarad, okay, uncharged, you have to find the heat loss. Now, as I have told you, the direct formula of the heat loss from the chapter itself of the capacitor, you can put all the data over here. You are equipped with the C1, C2, you are equipped with the V1 and V2. Okay, V2 is nothing but 0, V1 is nothing but 220 as given to you. C1 is 5 microfarad, C2 is 2.5 microfarad, and you can have the value of the heat loss. Now, in this slide, I'm not going to derive the heat loss formula over here for you guys. Okay, you can just check into your institute notes. Now, moving forward to the next question, the angular velocity of a smooth parabolic wire is not given to you. Okay, you have to find the omega for this smooth parabolic wire, for which you have inserted a bead over here, you have placed a bead over here, and this bead is not slipping anywhere. Now what you can do is you can first draw the force diagram, free body diagram. So for the bead, you know that a normal contact reaction will be acting in the following direction, which is perpendicular to the tangent at this point, where let us say this point is B, where bead is placed. Okay, mg is acting in the downward direction, and a zero force m omega square a is acting over here. Now he have given you the coordinates also. The coordinates are a and b. The coordinates are a in the x direction and b in the y direction. So I have made a free body diagram over here. M omega square a, mg, my n acting, this is my tangent, this is my perpendicular line over here, and this is my bead. Okay, now you have to resolve all these forces in the direction of this tangent and normal. Okay, after which you can say that if I am resolving the forces in the direction of tangent over here, I am landing up with the following expression: m omega square a cos theta due to the contribution of this pseudo force is balanced by the contribution of this mg, the gravitational force over here. Okay, mg sine theta. So m omega square a cos theta will be balanced by mg sine theta. Now you can easily find the value of omega from this expression. After finding the omega, your job is not done, because tan theta is unknown. In the following question, you can see over here there is nothing like as tan theta given to you, so you have to find tan theta. Now you know that tan theta is nothing but the slope, and you are equipped with the equation of your parabola, which is y equal to 4cx square. So dy by dx, mathematically I know that it is equal to tan theta. So just derivate the following expression. You will be given with, it will be coming out something like to be this. Okay, and now you have to put the point over here, because you are specifically describing the motion at this point, at point AB. Okay, so you are having the following expression as dy by dx as 8cx. Replace this x by the value of a, because at x equal to a you are talking about. Okay, so you are having this expression over here. Put this expression in your parent equation over here, and you will be landing up with the value of omega. Now let us move toward the next question. So it is a very much simple question of YDSE. Your slit width is given to be 1 millimeter, distance from the screen is 1 meter, wavelength of the light is 632 nanometer, and the image is formed at y something over here at 1.270 millimeter. Then you have to find the path difference. As you know from the equation itself of the path difference, or the result of the path difference is nothing but d sine theta, and sine theta is nothing but it is equivalent to small theta. Then you can take this small theta to be equivalent to tan theta, small angle approximation, and tan theta is nothing but y by d. Now you are equipped with the value of y, you are equipped with the value of d, and you are equipped with the value of small d also, the separation in between the slits. So you are having dy by d. Replace all the data over here, and you will be landing up with the path difference expression over here. Now let us see the following question over here. Very much simple question. In this question you are given with the magnetic field, you are given with the angle, and you are given with the velocity. You have to find the pitch. So from the direct formula itself, I know that pitch is nothing but v cos theta into t, and t is the time taken to complete the whole circle. Okay, just replace this t by 2 pi m by eb, the time you are taking for complete the whole circle. So if you know, if you recall from your lecture itself, that this, the motion of the following particle will be something like this, helical. Okay, so you'll be taking some time to cover this whole circle, which is time t. Okay, just replace all of the data in the following expression, and you'll be having the value of your desired pitch. Moving to the next question. A charged particle is having a charge q, velocity v, moving in your xy plane in the x direction. It enters a region of the uniform magnetic field directed in the y direction, extending up from 0 to d. What is the equation of the path in the terms of d? Now it is a very direct question. You can have this in your worksheets or any kind of institute notes. As you know, it's a very popular question. You have to find the equation of the path in the terms of d. Now from the question itself, I will knowing that if my particle is moving in x direction, then velocity in x direction and the distance it is traveling in the x direction will be related by this formula. Now as I know that my electric field is directed in the y direction, then acceleration will be acting in y direction only. So I can say that my force will be acting in y direction only because of my electric field. So force is nothing but q into E. Q is the charge of the particle, E is the directed electric field, and it is equal to m into A by Newton. So A is coming out to be QE by m, but in y direction. Also in y direction, I am knowing that my particle is moving in the x direction, but it is not moving in the y direction. By the virtue of force, it will start to travel in the y direction. So initial velocity of y direction is 0. So by using the kinematic equation S is equal to ut plus half at square, I can replace or I can get rid of this by simply the following expression. And because I'm accounting for the y direction, I can say that s into y direction, s in y direction, then there will be an acceleration into y direction. Now you have to take care for the time t. Now to travel in between any, means to travel in between any length in the x direction or in the y direction, it will be taking the same time. Now if your particle is moving from here to here, now if it is moving from either here to here or here to here, it is taking the same time. So from the first expression itself, I can have the value of time, which is nothing but t equal to x by v. Replace the value of time over here in the following expression, replace the value of acceleration in the y direction over here, and you will be landing up with the following expression of your equation of path in terms of d in the y direction. Okay, amplitude of a carrier wave and message wave is 5 unit and 3 unit respectively. Then you have to find the ratio of the minimum and the maximum amplitude, okay, of the modulated wave. Now it's a direct formula. A max upon A minimum is nothing but amplitude of message wave plus amplitude of carrier wave upon my amplitude of message wave minus amplitude of carrier wave. Okay, you are equipped with the following data, put it over here, and you will be landing up with the A max over A minimum equal to 4. Now guys, if you love my lecture, if you loved my work, then please give it a thumbs up, like, share and subscribe. These were the questions being asked yesterday itself in first shift. The student have given me the review, so they were saying that the question were very much easy. So I hope some of these questions may be repeated into your upcoming examinations, and this lecture will benefit you and rank you up in your examination. So we'll meet you in the next lecture itself. Until then, goodbye guys.